You're listening to Ask Dr. Jake. My name is Dr. Jake Tucker, owner and founder of Good Life Family Chiropractic here on the south side of Lincoln. We're at the corner of 56th and Pine Lake, right next to Campbell's Nursery. Our office number here, 531-289-7100. Again, that's 531-289-7100. You can also find us on the web, goodlifefamilychiropractic.com, or you can go to Facebook, find us at facebook.com/AskDrJake, or our clinic page, facebook.com/MaxLifeLincoln. And what we're talking about today, just as we do every day, is God's laws of health, hope, and healing every single day at 7 o'clock here on KCRO, and also posted wherever you find your podcasts and download those. So, make sure you're tuning in. Make sure you're tuning in daily for just another word of encouragement and just direction as far as your health goes. Because as a country right now, we are directionless, or at worst, we're actually heading the wrong direction, and we're going as fast as we can. And I know that because just looking at the stats, we spend more money on healthcare than any other country in the world. And how do we do this? Well, we get there. Number one, we wait until we feel a symptom. Then we go to the medical doctor. He gives us a diagnosis, gives us a prescription based off of that diagnosis, sends us home to take that prescription. And if that works, great. If it doesn't, then we're right back to the doctor with another test, maybe another diagnosis, definitely another or a stronger medication. And if that doesn't work, then we end up at a specialist. The specialist, maybe gives us a special test, a special drug, all for a special price. And if that doesn't work, then we're at a surgeon's office looking to see if we need to cut out any of the organ cells or tissues in our body. And this is the system that I found myself in. The world's most expensive system, $11,000 per person, remember. The number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States, medical costs. I found myself in the system at just 6 months old, with just struggling to breathe, quitting breathing in the middle of the night, up to 17 times in a night. And I went to doctor after doctor after doctor, and they couldn't do anything other than just try to give my mom another referral, another place to go, another thing to do, just encourage her to keep me alive the way that she had. And we went through this for 6 months. And my mom, she had her family and friends praying for me. She had them thinking about me. She had anointing me in oil and bringing me to church and having these pastors pray over me, but nothing was changing. But my mom's best friend, who was also doing all these other things, she mentioned what was going on to her chiropractor, and her chiropractor said, I know a lot of patients, they come to me because they don't feel good. They have pain in their neck, they have pain in their low back. One of the most dramatic things I see, especially with children, is in breathing and immune system function. And it sounds like he's having a problem at the top of his neck that may actually be creating these issues. And so she went to my mom and told her what the chiropractor had said. And my mom is in the midst of all these doctor visits. And so she says, she doesn't really have time. But 7 times, my mom's best friend told her to try her chiropractor. And finally, after the 7th time, she finally went in. And it didn't take the chiropractor much longer than a couple moments to see exactly what the problem was. When I came in at 6 months of age, my head was cocked over to one side. One eye was open larger than the other. One pupil was dilated larger than the other. And he went right to the top of my neck. And the top bone, atlas, it was shoved over and rotated around my brainstem and my spinal cord so much that the vagus nerve, cranial nerve 10, where it goes out and it innervates lungs, and it innervates my immune system, and it innervates my digestive system, it was actually being suppressed. The signals going through there were being disrupted to the point where it would actually cause me to stop breathing. He did one adjustment, and I've never had a breathing problem since. And that's the hope I want for you. While most of you have been dealing with your health conditions far longer than I ever did, what we deal with here in the office is not just hope, not just another thing to do, but we address cause. And if you're ready to stop covering up symptoms and start addressing cause, call my office at 531-289-7100. Today, this morning, right now, pick up the phone, punch in those numbers, and we're going to give the first 5 callers today a 50% discount off of exams, off of any necessary x-rays, and off of and a free consultation as well to go through those findings and see exactly what's going on, see what our first steps need to be, and then eventually we'll get into what those treatments will be. But the average cost of a treatment in our office is $45. The first treatment is usually $60, just depending on what your insurance situation is and how bad your case is. So we'll look at that once we get to the office. But let's start. If you are having a problem and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, pull your car off to the side of the road, pick up the phone, and dial 531-289-7100. It really, what we're talking about here is not the power of an adjustment, because the adjustment is only as powerful as what it's accomplishing underneath. An adjustment is not a treatment for any condition. It does not suppress symptoms. It doesn't consistently provide relief when applied to everybody across a field, but when properly applied, what it does best is it removes interference from your central nervous system. Why is that important? Well, because your central nervous system is designed to surround and protect or it's designed to give you function, give you life. Life is the definition of health. The ability of your body to heal and function is 100% health. And if your central nervous system isn't providing that to the organ cells and tissues in your body, then they're going to suffer. You're going to get sick. And ultimately, that sickness is going to lead to disease and an early death. And that's not what God wants for you. In Jeremiah 29:11, he says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future." And Jesus said in John 10:10, "I have come that you may have life and have it to the full." That's present tense. That's not waiting until you die. That's not waiting until eternity. Eternity starts today. Eternity starts the second you step into this promise, the second you step into this relationship with Christ and you embrace the good things that he has for you, but it takes action. God never said it would be easy, but his laws and principles are simple. They're not complicated. It's the straight and narrow, though, remember. It's not going to be what everybody else is doing. Few find this path, but when they do and they don't turn from it, they reap the rewards. So we look at this thing. The central nervous system is perfectly protected by the spinal column in each individual vertebra. They have a proper position. They should be straight up and down from the front with 345-degree curves from the side. And when I'm looking at an x-ray, I always start with the neck. So here, if you're watching on Facebook right now, I have an example of what the side view of the neck should look like. So let me bring this up for you. And so when we're looking at the side, I look at four things. The first is this curve. That curve is called the arc of life. And that's not a biblical term. That's not a chiropractic term. That's a neurology term. Neurologists did research on this. Neurologists won Nobel Prizes for determining that when you have this curve, you live an average of 20 years longer than someone who's even lost 50% of this curve. Because at a 50% loss of curve, so let's say you have a 22.5-degree curve, we see a pathological tension being placed on the spinal cord that lengthens the spinal cord by as much as 2 centimeters. In doing so, actually killing neurons, anterior horn cells on the front side of the spinal cord. You need this curve in order to be healthy. And if you're losing this curve, it's creating dysfunction in your central nervous system, making you sick wherever those signals go. And when it's in the neck, it goes everywhere. So you need this curve. The second thing that I look at when I look at this x-ray is I look at the spacing around the brainstem. The top 2 bones surround and protect your brainstem. The base of the skull and the atlas, that first bone after the base of the skull, should be perfectly parallel to one another, within 2 degrees. And they should also be 31 degrees away from the floor. In that position, you can see that center picture there, that center view. That's actually a view through your, they call it the foramen magnum, or the mouth of God, or the great hole. That spacing is where the cerebrospinal fluid flows up and down, where blood vessels go up and down, bringing blood to and from your brain, and where those electrical impulses, where your brain tells the organs what to do and the organs tell the brains what they're doing and what they need from it. That's where all that happens. When that's off by as much as 2 millimeters or 2 degrees, it disrupts all 3 of those things if left there for 5 minutes or more. And we can see a decrease in function by as much as 60% if left there for 5 minutes or more. So we need those 2 bones to be in proper alignment. The next thing that I look at is the spacing between the joints. When you have good spacing, that represents healthy discs. When you have healthy discs, they'll outlive you. They'll provide motion. They'll provide actual cerebrospinal fluid flow. They'll promote blood flow. And we'll actually see that arthritis won't build up when those are healthy and and preserved in a normally shaped or normal posture of that neck. But when those go out of alignment, it immediately starts degenerating at a rate of 7% per year. Basically, you have about 20,000 bad movements until you herniate a disc or develop degenerative or osteoarthritis. And once that happens, there are changes that are made that become permanent. It doesn't mean that you can't get healthier. It just means that there is a point of no return at which certain things are just, they're going to outlive you and the ability of your body and the rate of healing outside of a spiritual healing that happens outside of God's laws and principles that he's established for us to live by. And so the last thing that I look at here, though, is head forward posture. We see in the research that for people that have 2 inches or more of head forward posture, which is represented by that green line, if you're watching here on Facebook, that green line out front of that arc of life, every inch that goes forward adds 10 pounds of pressure. If you end up with 2 inches or more of head forward posture, your risk of a cardiovascular event, think stroke or heart attack, goes up by 50% compared to your peer group. And so that can put you at an extraordinary risk and danger of heart attacks, of strokes, of all these different things. So we know that when we correct these things, we are able to reliably and consistently take pressure off of the central nervous system. And as we do that, your body heals and functions better. And this is exactly what happened to me with my atlas being off and twisted out of alignment. It was disrupting the flow of innate intelligence through my body, the stuff that God placed there for my body to heal and function, and especially to my lungs. And it was causing me to stop breathing. But the same thing can happen and create headaches, migraines. It can create neck pain. It can create low back pain, even as high up as in the neck, because we're dealing with the signals that control all life, all function as it flows out to the body. We say that healing comes from above down, inside out. And as we express life, as we express our full potential, those around us are able to express life and health and their full potential as well. And so if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're sick and tired of having an abnormal x-ray and don't know what to do to correct it, that's exactly what we specialize in here in the office. I had a patient just this week come in because she'd been going to a Gonstead doctor. And this Gonstead doctor was a phenomenal adjuster, but she wasn't taking x-rays. And she didn't know what her spine looked like. She knew it was bad 2 years ago, but she didn't know what it was like today. Didn't know that whether or not it was making a difference. And so when we went in, we got the x-ray, we saw that curve in the neck was completely gone. We saw that there was ligament damage throughout the spine from not going back and double checking to make sure that she was adjusting in the right spot. And we were able to create a plan to get the healing going. And so if you're ready for a plan, if you're ready for healing, call us now, 531-289-7100. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see you next week for more Ask Dr. Jake.